Hi everyone, this is Ankit Singh Meher from Vinod Kothari and Company, and this is the third video of our series on regulatory roundup of the year 2023. So, in this video, I'll be taking a quick review of all the amendments which were notified by MCA in the year 2023. So, I'll just quickly share my screen and then we can start our discussion on the same. Yes. So in the year 2023, MCA has notified several amendment rules as well as some circulars. So we'll discuss these one by one. We start our discussion with past second amendment rules. So why these amendment rules, MCA has notified two most important changes in past rules. The first was with respect to mandatory conversion of share warrants, which were issued under the Companies Act 1956. So in section 114 of Companies Act 1956, there was an enabling provision which then allowed the public companies to issue share warrants as bearer securities. So, and these bearer securities entitled the bearer of such warrant to get the shares specified therein in the warrant document. So it is to be noted here that these warrant did not have the name of the registered owner, and the shares contained therein could have been transferred or can be transferred through mere delivery of that warrant. So these kinds of warrant are not anymore in practice, and the particular section was never there in the Companies Act 2013 as well. So while the past Second Amendment rules, MCA has now formally decided to do away with the share warrants which are issued under the Companies Act 1956. Also, the senior in our fraternity would know that in practice, rarely any company would have issued these warrants. However, if at all these warrants are still there, companies are now required to issue a notice to the holder of such bearer securities or bearer warrant to surrender their warrant and get the share dematerialized. Also, MC has provided that if the holder of such bearer securities do not surrender their warrants to the company, then company is required to convert the unsurrendered share warrants into demat shares and transfer the same to the IEPF. To summarize this, we should look at the intent of this amendment. The intent of this amendment was not to curb the issuance of allotment of share warrants by the companies altogether, but rather the intent was to wipe out the bearer's warrants. I repeat, the bearer warrants which were issued as a bearer securities under the Companies Act 1956. So this was the first change. The second change was with respect to compulsory demat requirement for private companies. So MCA has inserted Rule 9B in the past rules through which compulsory demat requirement provisions has been extended to private companies as well. However, these compulsory demat requirement provision is not being made applicable to the government companies and small companies. So these two companies are kept outside the purview of application of Rule 9B. Also, to comply with the compulsory demat requirement provision as stated in Rule 9B, companies have been given a timeline of 18 months, which will begin from the close of financial year 2022 to 2023. So, during this timeline, the companies on which Rule 9B is applicable has to ensure that they comply with the provision of compulsory demat requirement by the end of this expiry of this 18-month period. So this was the change with respect, second change with respect to past Second Amendment rules. Now we'll discuss companies management and administration Second Amendment rules. So why these amendment rules, MCA has notified that for the purpose of ensuring compliance with Section 89 of the Companies Act 2013, companies are now required to appoint a designated person. Now, what this designated person will do? This designated person will be responsible for providing information with respect to beneficial interest in shares. Also, it is to be noted here, it is a very significant point that the appointment of a designated person is not to be made for ensuring compliance with Section 90 of the Act, which provides for identification of SBO. So this is a distinction that we have to draw here. So the scope of this amendment was restricted to ensuring compliance with Section 89 of the Act. Also, we have a detailed video on our YouTube channel by Mr. Vinod Kothari. So the link of that video is also been given in the caption of this video in the description box. So you may also refer to the same for a detailed discussion. So this was the second change which MCA has notified. Next, we are going to discuss companies' appointment and qualifications of directors amendment rules 2023. So three changes were notified in the appointment and qualification of director rule. The first change was with respect to intimation of disqualification by a director in form DIR 8. So we all know that DIR 8 is filed by the director who is to be appointed on a board of a company, in which the director intimates about his disqualification status under 160 section 164 subsection 2. So this section 164 subsection 2 relates only to the company related disqualifications. So now MCA has made it mandatory that a director has to file DIR 8 in respect of his disqualification stated under section 164 subsection 1 as well, which provides for individual related disqualification. So now DIR 8 has to be filed both in respect of 164 subsection 1 and subsection 2 as well. This was the first change. The second change was with respect to receiving of DIR 8 by the company. So if a company receive a DIR 8 and in which the director state that he is disqualified to be appointed as a director, then company now has to give an intimation to ROC in form DIR 9. So this was the second change. The third change was with respect to form DIR 10, which is filed for application of removal of director. So earlier this form was required to be filed with ROC. Now this form will be required to file with RD. So these were the three changes. Accordingly, to accommodate all the changes, MCA has also revised its various forms such as DIR 8, DIR 9, and DIR 10 also. So this was the second, this was all about companies' appointment and qualifications of director amendment rules 2023. Now we'll discuss companies' compromise arrangements and amalgamation amendment rules 2023. So these rules were notified for faster disposal of application under section 233 of the Act, which provides for fast track merger. So MCA has observed a lot of practical difficulty in faster disposal of fast track merger cases. So accordingly, in this amendment rule, MCA has notified various timelines for ensuring a faster disposal of application under section 233 of the Act. So the official liquidator or registrar has been given a timeline of 30 days to provide their objection or comments on any scheme which is filed under section 233 of the Act. And if they do not give their objections or comment during this period, then it will be considered that they do not have any objection on the scheme which is being filed under section 233 of the Act. Also, the regional director has also been given a timeline of 15 days and 30 days to issue a confirmation order to the scheme which is filed under section 233 of the Act. The timeline of 15 days given where the RD do not receive any objection from official liquidator or registrar, and a timeline of 30 days has been given in case the RD receives any objection from the official liquidator or registrar. So this was the second timeline. The third timeline was made to the fact that application under section 233 has to be disposed of within 60 days from the filing of the same with the regional director. Otherwise, it will be deemed that the RD has no objection to the scheme, and accordingly, a confirmation order has to be issued. So this was all about compromise arrangements and amalgamation amendment rules 2023. Now we'll discuss the notification of SBO LLP rules 2023. So these LLP rules were notified on November 9, 2023 for the purpose of identification of SBOs and LLPs. So the provision which are there in the SBO LLP rules are on the similar line as that brought for companies under the Companies Act 2013 for identification of SBOs. So the provision are on the similar lines. With respect to the reporting period, any person who is a SBO of an LLP on the commencement of the SBO LLP rule, which is November 9, 2023, then such person has to file LLP Ben 1 within 90 days from the commencement of these rules. And as for the any person who becomes SBO later on, the rule remains the same, that he has to file LLP Ben 1 within 30 days from becoming of a SBO. However, an important point is to be noted here that a transition period of 90 days has been given. So this transition period will start from the date of commencement of this rule. So any person who becomes an SBO during this transition period, or his SBO status changes during this transition period, then it will be considered as that such person become SBO after the expiry of this transition period, or the change in the SBO status of that person has happened after the expiry of this 90 days period, and accordingly a limit of 30 days will be considered or calculated accordingly. So this was the reporting requirement in SBO LLP rules. So these were the all amendment rules which were notified by MCA. Now we'll discuss some circulars which MCA has also issued during the year. So the first was with respect to migration of certain forms to V3 portal. So as we have seen that during the year, MCA has a transition from V2 portal to V3 portal, and tried that all activities will now be considered under the V3 portal. So accordingly, certain forms were shifted from V2 portal to V3 portal. Accordingly, changes were made. The second circular was with respect to merger of multiple user IDs in V2 portal with new user IDs in V3 and deactivation of old user ID in V2 portal. So this circular was issued to ensure that all the existing users which were there in the V2 portal will now be registered under the V3 portal, and their old ID will be deactivated, so as to ensure that a single person has only one user ID. So this was the second change which was brought by MCA circular. The third was with respect to holding of EGM and EGM through video conferencing or other audio-visual method. So for the companies whose AGM is due on or before 30th September 2024, these for these AGM, the companies are allowed to hold such AGMs or AGM through VC or audio other audio visual method as well. So these were the three small circulars which were issued by MCA during the year. So this wrap up our discussion on regulatory development which were notified by MCA during the year 2023. So thank you all for patiently listening to me, and I wish you a very happy and prosperous year. Also, on a last note, I would just like to inform you all that for all the discussions we have had, for most of the topics, we have already have our detailed articles or YouTube videos on our website and YouTube channel respectively. So you may also refer to the same. Thank you all for listening to me.